Hello. So when Tabatha told us that we got to make any cut and color that we want on this mannequin and ship it back to her, my heart started racing. It's super exciting to be able to do this, but also the possibilities are endless of what I could create. So I opened up my Pinterest, searched a bunch of inspiration photos of what I felt like was part of who I am as a stylist and what I love to do. With the shag that I decided to do, here's like a rough sketch. I'm not an artist, so it's not very good, but I am gonna lighten her up quite a bit and give her a darker base. And then I want the rainbow to start in the center and move to both sides. It's probably gonna look much different than this, but it's just kind of to give me an idea and you an idea of where we're going with Miss Mannequn here. So I'm gonna start with giving her just a classic T-part. Since we're applying this all over, I don't need any fancy partings, and it'll just make it easy to put this all on and move on to the next. I'm gonna start with mixing up some Light Master and some 20 volume. I feel like it just lifts more evenly. It does take more time, but it keeps the hair a little more conditioned, and since we're working on mannequin hair, it's already dry, dead, and brittle. So I'm gonna start in the front sections because I definitely want the brightest point to be around her face. So I'm gonna take pretty thin sections to make sure I'm fully saturating all over, because I don't want to deal with any unevenness or splotchiness later on. And I do like to work bottom to top because it keeps it much cleaner, and if you're flipping the hair over to work down and then you flip it back, you're disrupting the bleach and you might get more spots that kind of rub off and create that splotchiness that we really don't want. Let's move her this way a little bit so you can see a little bit better how I'm applying this. I get a little bit of lightener on the back of my glove just to help saturate the bottom side of the section. So I'm gonna go in and get the base first. I'm gonna get underneath a little bit. We're gonna bring this in, grab some more lightener, and work our way down. Make sure it's all really, really saturated. Normally we would start off base because of the heat of her head. This area would lift much lighter than the rest, but because it's a mannequin head and she doesn't have heat, I am starting from the base and working my way down. So I will be using Light Master and 20 volume again, but this time I'm going to keep it off base because I do want to get her quite a bit lighter, but we are going to be doing a slightly darker root color, so there's no need to keep lightening at the base. So to show you what we're doing here, I'm taking diagonal back partings in pretty small sections to make sure we get it saturated really thoroughly. And the diagonal back helps just kind of soften the line that we're creating, as well as turning my brush sideways and kind of feathering it up so that we don't get a harsh line here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put some lightener on the back of my hand again. So we're saturating the back just as much as the front. And working my way down, get some of this excess. just like that. So we got her pretty light. I am going to give her a dry cut because her hair is a little harder to manage when it's wet right now because mannequin hair. I did go ahead and smooth her out to make the cut and color a little bit easier on myself. And there is a bit of a dark spot back here because I pre-toned her with the anti-yellow and a little bit of the anti-red because of her strawberry tones in her hair. So it took a little bit more in this spot back here than everywhere else. But I'm not concerned because we are still going to do a darker base color and we'll just help blend that dark spot into the rest of the hair. So I'm going to start off by cutting her perimeter and deciding where we want the length. I'm going to take quite a bit off because her ends are pretty stringy, as mannequin heads are, and some of the damage from lightening her twice. Take a smaller subsection. And I'm gonna go ahead and point cut throughout her whole haircut just for some added softer lines and some texture. Especially because I'm cutting dry. And I'm gonna go ahead and over direct the sides just a bit since the shag has kind of that mullety feel where the back is longer. See it a little bit better? So now we have this soft V shape. So that's gonna get more dramatic once we add the layers. And then I'll bring this section down and probably do a couple different sections so I can see my guide and do the same thing. And it looks something like this. So now I'm gonna move into the fringe area because we're gonna use the fringe as a guide to cut the layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring down a subsection again. So I'm gonna go ahead and split this down the middle because she is going to have a middle part. And we're gonna create that curtain fringe. We're gonna keep them a little bit longer because I can always shorten the center where we want them to come forward, but I don't want to lose too much length. So we'll over direct, and I'm gonna start this right at the end of her eyebrow. Perfect. And then I'm gonna take a little bit from this middle part and bring it over here. and then stand on the opposite side to repeat the same thing. So you can see the guide here. And there we go. Now I'm just going to take down more of our fringe section here and do that again and again until we get the full fringe section done. There's her fringe. Now from here, I'm going to take down these front sections. I'm actually going to be taking sections from this front section in the same angle partings as what the fringe is. And I'm going to take these sections and over direct it and then match the fringe. And I'm bringing the hair that's down here up so that everything is elevated the same. That way we're keeping more of the length on the bottom and in the back. Okay, now I'm going to take down these top back sections. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that center piece of the fringe in that triangle and marry it with this back section to create our guide. We get some nice short layers back here. Now we're going to use that guide to take vertical sections, bring them directly up, we get a lot of layers and texture through the back. And take part of that section into the next. Do that all the way around the head on both sides. So now I'm going to take those same vertical sections and to take some of the weight out of the perimeter, I'll let some of that drop. But I'm going to cut some layers this way as well by taking that corner off. Now to create some extra texture and volume, I'm going to go through and take some sections and just texturize. That'll give us some fun texture to play with. Now that we have the haircut shaped how we want, I'm going to go in and just shorten up this fringe a little bit right above the eyes. I'm going to start with a 7, 8, 8, and 10 volume, and I'm just going to lightly brush that at the root all over, and then from there I'm going to mix some 7AA and clear. And after the base color sits, I'm gonna apply the diluted formula all over to help melt that down into a lighter color on the ends and blending that in. So this front section, I went ahead and clipped off just a little bit of the front area where I'm going to be applying the rainbow colors so that I keep that out of the way. And to keep this color off of it, I am going to be working the front sections vertically back so that this color doesn't fall into this and create some splotches. And then the same thing up here. Vertical sections back. I just split this front section into two more manageable sections. Okay. For this rainbow section, I custom mixed all of the colors to give me the tones that I'm going for. So the first one is going to be a purple, and I mixed mostly dusty purple with a little bit of lavender macaroon and tiniest dot of royal purple, just to deepen it a tiny bit. So I'm just gonna apply the purple to this section here. Split this up a little bit more. Well, the dusty purple has this weird muddy look to it at first, but it will oxidize and look more purple by the time we're done with it. Keep this off her face with a piece of foil. Make sure my hand's clean so I'm not getting it on the back of the foil. And feather my way up to the scalp. All right, I'm gonna fold this up out of the way. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the purple, but with the blue, then green, then yellow, the corally orange, and then the pink. My blue formula is the dusty blue with some of the aqua bay. Just felt like it needed a little extra of that aqua blue in there to help cover, because it's not quite like a white blonde. So I want it to be able to show up. My next color is going to be the green, which my green formula is green mint with some of the dusty teal and a tiny bit of the mermaid teal, just to deepen it enough. My next color is going to be the yellow, and I did Lucky Duck yellow with a little bit of the coral just to deepen it. And a tiny bit of lavender macaroon to make it a little bit more muddy. I didn't want it quite as vibrant as how it comes out of the tube. Next is the coral with a little bit of the Lucky Duck yellow to brighten it up just a tad. And last but not least, I have the pink, which is the rose or the sparkling rosé with a tiny little dot of red hot just to deepen it up for me. Okay, now I'm gonna go and pull through the 7AA that is diluted through all of these ends.